No one expected that a quiet Sunday morning would erupt into a showdown, least of all me. I stood there frozen in horror as my daughter, Sarah, stood her ground against a man impersonating a policeman, the gun jammed into her belly. Wearing running shoes and dripping with sweat, she had a grin on her face like she was deciding whether to laugh or disassemble him. It only took 5 seconds for our neighbors to realize something was wrong. 2 months earlier, we'd moved into Cedar Grove Estates, a peaceful, sprawling suburban neighborhood with wide lots and scenic trails. Sarah, a recently retired Marine Corps instructor, had been easing into civilian life with daily jogs and quiet afternoons in our backyard garden. But peace did not last. Not with Vince Malone cruising the community in a ramshackle SUV, plastered with fake police stickers. His mirrored shades and inflated strut made him resemble an actor rejected from a low-rent cop series. Old Mr. Larson had cautioned me in our first week over breakfast coffee. "Watch Vince," he said. "Thinks he's the law, behaves like it too." I thought he was joking. I was mistaken. That morning, the sky was filled with pink and gold hues as Sarah double-knotted her laces and set off towards the community trail. I sat on the porch drinking coffee and planning the day. 20 minutes later, there were screeching tires and yelling voices. I dropped the cup and raced down the driveway. A cluster of individuals had gathered at the trailhead. Sarah stood in the center, unperturbed, her eyes on Vince, who was waving a gun like a mockery of authority. "Produce ID," he snarled. "You're on private property. Suspicious." Sarah's calmness could have melted steel. "And what if I don't?" she said with an even voice. "Deputy Dog?" The crowd gasped as Vince's hand rose, knuckles white. Cell phones materialized. My heart was racing, but I trusted in Sarah's training. She took a step forward, hands up just enough to appear harmless, body-taught control. "Want to aim that at me, Vince?" she said, voice a low murmur. "Want to make a mistake you can't take back?" His finger twitched. Sarah closed the distance in an instant, disarmed him, removed the magazine, and dismantled the gun in front of everyone. The crowd applauded. Vince looked at fragments of the gun on the ground as if they had left him. "Call your boss," Sarah said, wiping her hands. "Oh, wait, right, you don't have one." Sheriff's deputies arrived a little later, patting her hand and chuckling over Vince's embarrassment. But the HOA board was not laughing. Mrs. Caldwell, the perfectly coiffed HOA president, arrived smelling like a bar, pleading with Sarah not to file a complaint for the reputation of the neighborhood. She even offered to forgive our dues for a year. Sarah smiled sweetly and indicated that she'd think about it. I recognized that look. Steady, considerate, kill you dead. They thought they'd dodged a bullet. They had no idea what was coming. Sarah didn't retaliate immediately. She was a strategist, playing chess while others played checkers. After disarming Vince, she finished her jog, grinning as she passed me. "We're going to have fun with this," she said. I didn't ask what she meant. I'd seen that glint in her eye before. In the days that followed, Sarah was friendly, at ease. She jogged, she chatted, but she was questioning. Her interrogation-style questions were sharp. How long had Vince worked? Who was compensating him? How were the fines assessed? She learned it from his own mouth. Vince wasn't a volunteer. He was being compensated in cash using residents' HOA fees. No vote, no background check. Just an imposter in a fake badge with a very real gun. Sarah needed proof. So one evening, we set up spy cameras around the clubhouse, trail, and HOA facility. Within days, we caught Vince bullying a teen, threatening a mom for party balloons, and charging permit fees. It was damning, and Sarah stayed aloof with purpose. "This is gold," she informed us, saving every photo. And then she went after the board. Disguising herself as a new enthusiast, she appeared at a meeting. Munching on stale donuts, board members relaxed about how they've milked dues through a beautification budget to pay for Vince's uniform, gas, even his badge. One night, Sarah taped Mrs. Caldwell, plotting to drown us in petty violations to scare us away. They believe they can bully us, she told me, laughing. They have no idea who they're playing with. Sarah wasn't content with just getting Vince. She was amassing proof to get the entire rotten board. She constructed a chronological report, video clips, snapshots, a diagram tracing residents' dues directly into Vince's pocket. Vince, however, still believed that he had bullied us. He was oblivious that he was blundering into Sarah's ambush. Sarah urged us to bait the board. Play nice, make them think they can't touch us. We paid our dues promptly. We baked cookie treats for meetings. Mrs. Caldwell squirmed. And then there was retaliation. A defacement notice scrawled on our door charged us with displaying an unauthorized American flag. Others, jogging too much, lawn at wrong height, all made up. Sarah wrote it all down. Then it got nasty. Her car was damaged. Tires were cut. A false ticket accused her of reckless driving. She didn't flinch. Security cameras captured Vince, knife in hand, in the glare. Got him, she panted, freezing his self-satisfied expression on screen. Sarah gathered everything, pictures, video, testimony, and sent her report to the sheriff's department, the DA's office, and local media. But she didn't stop there. She wanted public outcry. She pronounced a Patriots' Day party in our home to honor local veterans, herself among them. The HOA could not object or risk appearing less than patriotic. They even promoted it in their newsletter, unwittingly paving the way to their own downfall. The party was flawless. Tents, flags, chow, news vans rolled in. Sarah gave a rousing speech, and then she handed the mic to the press. They confronted the board with evidence of Vince's bad behavior and Mrs. Caldwell's plotting. Gasps converted to outrage. Deputies got to mid-event to deliver formal notice of investigation. One even publicly thanked Sarah. The illusion of the HOA collapsed. Headlines read, "False Cop Threats Veteran's Daughter. HOA Scandal Rocks Cedar Grove Estates." Petitions circulated calling for resignations. Another wrongdoing came, ironically referencing our event as unauthorized, even though the board had announced about it. Sarah laughed and filed it. This was followed by a formal legal threat claiming defamation against us. Sarah countered with whistleblower laws, referring to her formal complaints. Vince tried to strike back once more, but her cameras caught teens that he had hired to vandalize our property. They confessed, and charges of conspiracy ensued. The board made one last attempt at saving face, scheduling a community unity meeting. We sat front row. Mrs. Caldwell's presentation unraveled when she was challenged. Reporters questioned her on issues of the mismanagement of funds. Neighbors shouted. One brandished a sunflower fine. Another demanded resignations. A chant arose. Resign! Mrs. Caldwell walked out of the meeting. The board eventually voted to recall her and 4 members. They were replaced with honorable residents. An audit confirmed abuse of funds. Vince's patrols were permanently shut down. Mrs. Caldwell sold her house and left in silence. Fear vanished. Flags waved again. Children laughed without fear. At a neighborhood barbecue, a veteran elder complimented Sarah. "You saved this place with heart and brains." She smiled, reserved. "Fighting," she said, "isn't about who yells the loudest. It's about refusing to quit." A month later, a dedication ceremony unveiled a new plaque. A community thrives when its people stand together. Neighbors provided us with a homemade sign reading, "Cedar Grove thanks Sarah." We posted it proudly alongside our garden. Sarah didn't brag. She just planted sunflowers, faces towards the sun. Newbies would hear whispers of the jogger who knocked over the board, and the old timers would smile. Let me tell you about the time the HOA thought it ran the show.